Alright, I'm going to be narrating this thing as it goes along, and hopefully I won't sound stupid or make a mistake while we're doing this. You start out drilling your blank first. This allows you to keep the rest of the handle concentric with the hole, even if you go off center a little bit or you don't have things quite lined up the way you want. Now I've got it between centers. I have a cone installed in my live center to go into the hole that the tool handle is going to go, or the tool is going to go into. And I am using my skew to do some rapid roughing. This is more about process than about technique. I'm not expecting you to want to grab your skew and go at it right away. You might want to practice a little bit with it first. But the skew is about the fastest tool that you can use to rough a spindle down to round. Especially on figured woods, even a skew can give you trouble with tear out and things, and you'll see some tear out on this as we go along. I blew out a big chunk at the front end, but it doesn't really matter because we're going to go down below that anyway. I'm laying the spine of the tool along the wood to see how round it is, and I'm not worried about perfect round right now. I just want to get it round. That looks good enough for now, so it's on to the second half. And this is like same song, second verse here. Just want to get the thing round. Get it reasonably smooth. We're not too worried about shaping right now. By the way, I apologize for my lighting system. I either need to find a better bulb for the light or do something with the camera here because it's blowing out all the bright spots. Okay, so now it's time to fit the ferrule. The ferrule, as you can see, is a very expensive piece of copper fitting. It's half of a coupling. I have a finished edge I can put up against the wood, and then we'll clean up the cut edge later on. But what I'm doing here is I'm marking my stick to have the length of the ferrule and a little bit. And now I'm going to turn the tenon with a parting tool. I'll be using a caliper that you just saw me measure with, and it's a very old caliper. It slips a little bit. So I know that my tenon is going to end up being a little bit bigger than what I want. Now, if you use this technique, it is important to remember that the caliper is not a cutting instrument. If you press hard enough with it, it's going to grab and you're going to find it sticking out of your forehead. Or maybe your next of kin will find it sticking out of your forehead. So be gentle with it. And when you get down to where you want to be, it'll slip right over nice and easy. Now let's just connect the dots to make that tenon nice and even. We'll do a second test with the ferrule and the caliper. A little bit fine tuning of the tenon. And as you'll see in a few seconds, the ferrule will slip right over the tenon. And when they slip on that easy, it's a good thing, but I usually put a touch of glue on just to be sure. Make sure it sticks there, that is. I guess I should have had some music in the background, huh? Okay, so back to the skew chisel. The ferrule was installed, and I can start shaping the tool to the shape that fits my hand and looks nice, and will be structurally strong enough to handle the use that the tool is going to get. I don't know how easy it is to see with my big paws covering up that tool, but to make that rounded shape, it's a lift and a roll. You're lifting the handle and rolling the tool all at the same time. Sounds complicated, but after you practice a little while, it gets to be fairly easy to get very smooth curves doing that. Now here you can see, and you've probably seen it in other places if you're paying attention, that I'm moving my whole body as I move the tool. It does not matter how strong you are, how big you are, how experienced you are. If you use just your arms, you're not going to get smooth, fair lines. But when you use your whole body and anchor your arms to your body, that's what gives you much more control. And that's what gives you those fair lines. Now we start from the other end, and we work towards the center. Part of the reason for that is the middle of the tool has the smallest diameter, and you always want to cut towards the smallest diameter on a spindle on the outside. This is called cutting downhill. And downhill has 4 different directions depending on the orientation of the wood and whether you're cutting on the inside or the outside. So there's nothing really objective about it. Now I'm doing a V cut at the back end to part off a little bit of waste and give myself a nice finished end. I'm not cutting all the way through yet, though. I just want to cut most of the way, because I still have a little bit of work to do on the front end, and of course it needs to be sanded. I cut out about 90% of the sanding part of this because all that does is make people bored and impatient. And normally I have the dust collector on, but I just wanted to see how the sanding dust looked in the video. Do a little bit of sanding on the copper fitting. That cleans it up nice, gets rid of any sticker, any other imperfections. Now I'm taking out a little bead of glue with my skew chisel. You need to be really confident with your skew if you're going to do this, because if you think it catches bad in wood, it catches real bad in copper. Now here's my spear point scraper. It's grounded slightly less than 90 degrees. It'll cut right through that copper edge. Despite how it looks in the picture here, I am holding it dead flat. And it goes right through the copper and down into the wood. And gets rid of all the roughness on the copper. Now I finished this cut up with my skew chisel. I thought about turning my scraper on the side now that that's a bad idea. Just come in with the skew with the bevel rubbing on what I've already cut, and it gives me a real nice finished edge. Never stick your finger on spinning metal like that. You'll end up with a big cut. A little bit of sandpaper to just chamfer that edge over, and it makes it real nice. Now I'm finishing up that V. I'm going to go down as far as I can stand it, which means I'll leave about maybe a 1/8 to a 3/16 inch diameter tenon on the end. And then that will go over to the bandsaw and be sliced off, and then finished up with the sander. This keeps your tool from coming apart, or your tool handle from coming off the lathe when it comes apart in 2 pieces right there and bouncing all over the place and putting a lot of dings in what you just finished sanding. and you can see there's not much left there. It's real easy to cut through that with a handsaw or a bandsaw or whatever. And here's the finished tool. This is a Doug Thompson 5/8 detail spindle gouge, and I'm looking forward to putting it into service. Thanks for watching.